Abyssinia, Ethiopia, the ancient country of Kush, also referred to as Kish. The Horn of Africa, anthropologically considered as the oldest country known to mankind. The oldest fossils of human beings have been found in Ethiopia. The Ignish, also referred to as Lucy, 3.2 million years old. Kadenumu, 5.7 million years old. Ethiopia, the oldest known country mentioned in the Bible, the first country that is a country referred to and recognized as a country today. Genesis chapter 2, verse 13, clearly speaks of this river that encompassed the whole land of Ethiopia. The river is referred to as the Gion. The Gion is the river Nile. The river Nile encompasses Ethiopia and flows out of the highlands of Ethiopia, according to the ancient papyri. The river Nile flows from the land where the god Happy dwells. The river Nile is perfectly aligned with the Milky Way, the very same galaxy that we live in. The very banks of the river Nile in Ethiopia is the very same area where civilization in general began. Science and mathematics had its birth on the banks of the river Nile. Even the concept of a god and the concept of worship in general began on the river Nile. In the book The Destruction of the Black Civilization, written by Chancellor Williams, it specifically shows us that Kemet, which is referred to as Egypt today, is the first daughter of Ethiopia. In the book of Kings in the Bible, chapter 10, 1 Kings specifically, it speaks of the visit to King Solomon by the Queen of Ethiopia, the Queen of the South, the Queen of Abyssinia, Queen Makeda, referred to as the Queen of Sheba. But the Bible does not go in depth as it relates to this visit. But there is an ancient manuscript by the name of the Kebra Negas. And the Kebra Negas, specifically, when translated into English, means the glory of the kings, the glory of the Ethiopian kings specifically. The Kebra Negas goes into the visit of Queen Makeda to King Solomon and shows that they brought forward a son, Menelik I, the product of their union. But the Kebra Negas also goes into the Spirit of God. It speaks of the pearl. The pearl is said to be the presence of God with man. This pearl or this Spirit of God shall travel through a specific people and through a specific family lineage, a specific bloodline, until it comes to a specific human being. This spirit or this pearl was said to have passed through Abraham and passed through Isaac and passed through Jacob. This spirit and this pearl is said to have passed through David and have passed through Solomon and has gone even into Menelik I. Menelik I took this pearl. Menelik I took the Solomonic lineage and the Davidic throne and returned to Ethiopia, where he became the king of Ethiopia. But through the grace and blessing of God, Menelik I also took with him the artifact known as the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant, according to the Bible, represents the presence of God. God dwelled in the Ark of the Covenant. When the high priest went and spoke to God, it literally means that he approached the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was placed in the holies of holies, the holiest of all rooms. This was the dwelling place of the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant would not have gone to Ethiopia with Menelik I unless it was the will of God. The Kebrenegas says that Menelik I returned to Ethiopia with the firstborn of all the noble from the house of Solomon. And he also returned with the Ark of the Covenant, again with the Solomonic throne and the David monarchy. The ancient Spirit of God, according to the Kebrenegas, the pearl, this Spirit that shall reach to the Messiah, also returned to Ethiopia with Menelik I. In the book of Acts, chapter 8, it speaks of Philip, which is the disciple of Christ, in his Amharic persona. His name is Iesus Christus. And Philip met this Ethiopian official from the house of Queen Candace. The Ethiopian official was a eunuch. And Philip taught him of the Christ that was amongst them, Iesus Christus, and showed the eunuch that this Messiah that you read of in the book of Isaiah is the same man that I know. And the story in Acts chapter 8 says that the eunuch took this order that was taught to him by Philip, the order of Christ, and returned to Ethiopia with this order. And this is why, historically speaking, and archaeologically as well, Ethiopia is the oldest known Christian country and Christian kingdom in existence today. So when we understand this scientific move, which obviously came directly from the courts of God, that the Ark of the Covenant, the very presence of God, went to Ethiopia. The Solomonic lineage, the Davidic throne, of which God says in the Bible, he shall establish a king forever, and even he himself shall come and sit on this throne. But the throne now is in Ethiopia. How mystic it is that even all the firstborn of the house of nobles returned to Ethiopia. And then, as we saw in the book of Acts in the New Testament, even the true order of Christ, not the regular Christendom now, not the make-believe mockery that was invented 100 years after the Messiah left the presence of his disciples. No, we're speaking of the true order that the true black Messiah left with his disciples, that went to Ethiopia. And that has made Ethiopia the oldest Christian country, not Coptic Egypt, but ancient Ethiopia, the oldest Christian country. All of this was done for a reason. And then the whole majestic ceremony of the 27th day of September every year in Ethiopia, it is referred to as the feast of the commemoration of Maskal, the commemoration of the finding of the true cross of Christ by Queen Helena. And according to the ancient prophecy, the cross of Christ shall return to Ethiopia. The cross of Christ in Ethiopia, the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia, the Solomonic lineage, the Davidic throne in Ethiopia. The lineage of the Messiah is in Ethiopia. Family, 1884. Ethiopian calendar, 23rd day of July, 1892. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. His name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Ever-Living Father, and the Prince of Peace. He was the only surviving child of the union of Ras Mokenen and Waziro Yeshima Bet. For the union had 9 children, all died, and the 10th survived to become the 225th emperor of Ethiopia. Born under the baptismal name Kedemawe Haile Selassie, at a young age he took the name Tafari, an Amharic word that means the creator. Liege Tafari was his name, for liege is the title of a young nobleman. And Liege Tafari, even at a young and tender age, was considered to be very spiritual. For his father Ras Mokenen, an official in the courts of King Menelik II, was always on his royal duties. So the young babe, whose mother died when he was very young, stayed with his grandmother. And the legend says that once when Ras Mokenen returned from the royal duties, his mother, the grandmother of Liege Tafari, gave him the child and said, "This is a very special child." And she joined the convent of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and became a nun. It was in 1896 that Italy invaded Ethiopia on its colonial quest, but they were defeated and crushed by the hand of great King Menelik and Ras Mokenen and the Ethiopian warriors. Tafari was very young, and at the age of 13 he took the title Dideshma, an Ethiopian title that means the keeper of the door. And he also took command of a specific faction of his father's army. At the age of 13 he was also governor of different provinces in Ethiopia. At a young and tender age he was the governor of Sidima, the governor of Gore, and even the governor of Shoa. This takes us into the prophetic understanding, because the oldest concept of a God worship, theologically the oldest concept of a God and a creator, is that which is known as the Osiris mystery, that which speaks of the great God Ptah, the Kemetic theology, that which speaks of Osiris and Heru. And it says that Osiris is the God-man, and Osiris was born in Ethiopia. It also says that Osiris at the age of 13 became a man. This can also be seen in the scriptures of the Bible, where it says that the Christ child, when he was fully 12, which means that he was 13 years old, he also became a man and went about his father's work. In the same hieroglyphs of the same Kemet, those that are seen also in the pyramid text, says that Heru, known as Horus, became a man at the age of 13 years. This is prophecy. Historically, Haile Selassie I took the title Deshma, the royal title of a prince, and also became governor at the age of 13. A short time after, the Deshma Tafari's father Ras Mokenen got very ill and passed this earthly life. The same thing went for Menelik II. And it was in 1916 that the Deshma Tafari took the title Ras Tafari, which means the chief. And also he was the regent of the throne of Ethiopia. But officially, from that time, the 27th day of September 1916, it was considered by the Royal Council of Ethiopia that the ruler of Ethiopia was Rastafari. This was also announced and made very clear by the Empress Zaditu, the daughter of Menelik II. Rastafari who has already been governing Ethiopia for 12 years, now became king of Addis Ababa. King is not emperor, for all the provinces of Ethiopia had a king, and it was the King of Kings, which was the emperor of Ethiopia. But Marcus Messiah Garvey in his prophecy says that a prince shall be crowned king. And historically, in Ethiopia, when Rastafari took the title Nyahbinghi on the 7th day of October 1928, that was the very last time that a prince has ever been crowned king in Ethiopia to this very day.
It wasn't until 1930 that Rastafari won supreme power at last and ascended the throne when the Empress Zauditu died. Crowned emperor at last at the age of 38, Tafari took the royal name of Haile Selassie, meaning the Mighty Trinity.
In the book of Genesis chapter 15 verse 13, God clearly shows Abraham that his children and his seed shall go into captivity for a period of 400 years. In the book of Deuteronomy, clearly shows that this captivity shall happen by ships. This is prophecy. Historically, the transatlantic slave trade, the great Holocaust, the terror that was put upon the melanated people of the world, the original man, the Abyssinian man, the man from El Kebelan, the African man, what is known as slavery, chattel slavery, what is known as Jim Crow, what is known as colonialism, 400-year period. And according to the book of Genesis chapter 15, after this 400-year period, God himself shall send them a mighty and great one. By the time Haile Selassie was coronated in 1930, all of the states of Africa came under European domination, went under slavery, and was colonialized. Ethiopia is the only African country that has never been colonialized, that have warded off the Italians and all the other Europeans when they invaded Africa on their quest to enslave the melanated man, the black man, and on their quest to colonialize and exploit the land of Africa.